Yeah, I mean, of all the celebrities that we could be related to, I've done a little bit of a deep dive into a few of them, and there are a few I can actually verify 100%. Like Winston Churchill. Uh oh. Winston, as long as his is accurate, he's my ninth cousin once removed. See, my grandfather Bob, his whole side, right up, the male side, right up to Richard. We know Richard and Joan are my ancestors, so they go back almost as far as Zachary, what's his face there, Zachary Cloutier on the Mignot side. But if you go up Richard Borden's side to Joan Fowle, that connects us to Churchill. But keep these people in mind. This is completely accurate. So I'm going to do two more on my grandfather's side. So here's Richard Nixon. As long as Nixon's is done right, but like, look, my grandfather Bob, right up his family to Samuel, and then Richard's wife, Innocent. That's where it breaks from the Borden men. So Churchill is very closely related to Nixon. Innocent's father is Thomas Cornell. He's famous. Of course, Thomas Cornell's father is also famous. And Thomas is the ancestor. Thomas and his son, because his son and his daughter, Thomas and Elizabeth, created the trees for my grandfather Bob and Richard Nixon. Of course, Richard Nixon was responsible for the Watergate scandal and wasn't that popular a president. Lyndon B. Johnson wasn't any better. He replaced JFK. Now, or just assuming that that's done right on his side. But you go up, it's all the way up the Bordens again. So this is a way closer relation to Winston Churchill. So it's Richard Borden and Joan Fowle again. Lyndon B. Johnson and Churchill are literally cousins. First cousins. And there's one more. Actually, there's two more. There's Gordie Howe, but believe it or not, on my grandmother's side. That actually holds up. Right up to Hope Clifton, Benjamin Thomas. Gordie Howe is my 10th cousin. And the last one, Lucille Ball, is definitely 100% related to us. From my mom all the way up. The Branchots, the Mondelays, Marie Francois and Joseph. Lucille Ball. So Joseph Haynes' son, Joseph Haynes, Mary Haynes, they went on to have their separate families. And I know Dominique is my relative. My mom had all the work done years ago. Dominique's dad was Didier. And Dominique Mondelez is kind of like the patriarch. But this last couple of years, Catherine Joseph has popped up as his mother. And Joseph is the dad. That's exactly our connection to Lucille Ball. 8th cousin, one time removed. So Jean-Marie Mondelez, Joseph Charles Mondelez, that would be Judge Mondelez, who's in the family portrait album that we were going over before. So that's how far that goes back. I mean, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my great-great-grandmother, my great-great-great-grandmother, and her father, my great-great-great-great-grandfather. And then his dad, his mother, and his great-grandfather Joseph. And that's the connection to Lucille Ball. So we go back to the mid-1700s with that connection. It's a little closer than the others. Lucille Ball was from I Love Lucy. So another member of the extended Mignot family, a Mondelez, and then a Haynes. And that's the connection.
Hello, Ethel. Ethel, will you do me a favor? Could you and Fred come up here for a few minutes? Well, the doctor said it would be any minute now, and Ricky's driving me crazy.
one gathers that Lyndon Johnson really had to be experienced to be understood or appreciated. What was he like to know?
Big. Everything about Johnson was big. He was a tall man, a big man. He gestured expansively. He ate enormously.
I can't honestly say that I've ever been completely relieved of the fact that there might have been international connections.
LBJ, Nixon. It's funny, their connection to Marilyn Monroe, eh? So Marilyn Monroe was the biggest actress, probably one of the top 2 or 3 of all time at this point. The lady that everybody loved. There she is. And she was a Gifford. And we've done all this work before. So you go up the Giffords and there's Mary Borden right there. She was the daughter of Richard Borden Innes and Cornell. Well, the same lineage is the exact same lineage as Nixon, Richard Nixon, right? And then Nixon is directly related to Thomas Cornell. So Marilyn Monroe and Richard Nixon would be, they share the exact same ancestor, like directly. So that's neat. And then, of course, LBJ, he continues on with the Bordens from Richard to Richard's dad, John, to John's father, the other Richard, who married Joan Fowle. And that's the same direct lineage as Winston Churchill. I think I said they were cousins. They're just descended from the same ancestor. But Nixon's is the exact same as Marilyn Monroe's. Pretty cool, eh? And of course, there's the conspiracy theory that, Marilyn Monroe was using John F. Kennedy and Robert to get intel for the mafia. And there was a hit put out of Marilyn Monroe. I don't believe that. But I mean it's possible. And then when Marilyn died, they took a hit out on JFK. And LBJ and Richard Nixon could have been behind that because technically they were all related. This is their bloodline, right? Through the Bordens and the Cornells. So that's some more interesting stuff. I'm sure I'm going to find more. The more I dig deep into all the families, I still haven't figured out the most important, the Goff family. We're working on that. We're into the late 1600s. But yeah, so that's all I got for today. Pretty cool.